On December 10th, 1999, I made a short visit to Taiwan on my way back to the US. It was Amma's, my grandmother's 95th birthday. This would count as my 8th visit to Taiwan. 1973, my first visit to Taiwan. Aku, my uncle, took us to their farm in the south to see my grandfather's grave. Years later, my mother tells me I was very sad to leave Taiwan, unlike my brother. 1979. Here we are in front of President Nixon's head in Kenting. January 1986. I visited with Mom and my college roommate. I wrote, "My feelings are deeper than just visiting. I love them all and really care about our future relations together. I'm going to have to learn Chinese well." 1987. That summer, I lived with Amma, Aku, and his wife, my Akim, and cousins. I studied Mandarin and attended the overseas Chinese summer camp. Amma tells me my Mandarin is at an 8-year-old level. (1991) On vacation for my civil rights work, visiting with Mom. Met women engaged in underground feminist activities. Cousins discussed the rising crime in Taipei. I wrote, "Near the end of this trip, Mom told me that my cousins kept saying this may be the last time they'll see me for a long time, especially if I go to graduate school." 1993, went to visit my boyfriend who had moved back to Taiwan with his family. 1995, visited with Mom. Chen Shui-bian of the Democratic Progressive Party had just become mayor of Taipei in the first ever popular election for governors and mayors in Taiwan. The energy in the air reminded me of the time I was in Moscow shortly after Perestroika was introduced. Amma had just won first prize for an autobiography contest. All these photos I've collected and books of writings, notes, and clippings. Where does this impulse come from? So during this 1999 visit, I wrote, "At 95, Amma smiles, talks, eats, walks slowly, but I feel her spirit fading." 2 days later, I wrote, "Certainly there is a sense of loss, always year after year. Corporate cultural imperialism is stronger than ever before, turning the face of the city into one huge mall." Upon returning to San Francisco, I knew I needed to make one more attempt to record Amma. But the challenge still was how. You see, upon hearing about her autobiography, in 1995 I set out with a friend's high-8 camera to gather footage on Amma, without any solid idea of what to do with the footage. All I knew was she had turned 91, and I wasn't sure how much longer she had. After all, she was known as Democratic Grandma. What was so special about my grandmother? What wisdom could she offer? Here we are at the Grand Hotel for the annual get-together with my mother's students. I tried to ask Amma how she survived up to 91. I make another attempt with the help of my mom's student.
How does she cope? How does she cope with pain and suffering?
What kind of pain and suffering? 阿嬷古早较爱死，爱穿水衫，你几时代爱穿水衫下骹嘛，啊目镜搁搁食爱穿水衫，啊这安尼大伯不爱穿，不懂懂。
都听懂了。
对啊，
他说要他穿的丰富一点、lady 一点，他说穿的像
3分的面，4分的装，啊伊拢做。
伊是7分的水啦。
我来讲，伊无采面水啊3个差不多。
普普通通呀，啊，袂啦，安尼阿嬷伊来欢喜就好，即摆拢流行了，伊也欢喜就好。啊，讲安阿嬷安怎？
你是怎么？我就几多上，隔壁我连天，隔壁我就是在看手机的啦。
Pray.
我没有。
Your grandma just pray.
She prays?
Yeah.
With my relatives pressuring my mother to make sure I get married, being that I was nearing 30, my mother told them it's better that I don't visit them again. Seven years later, and it's 2002, a Taiwanese artist and friend had asked me to apply to the Taipei Artist Village. Excitedly, I did, with a proposal to make a documentary about democratic grandma. It was good timing. With the controversial U.S. presidential election, the tragedies of 9/11, U.S. bombing of Afghanistan, my surviving a burst appendix, and the impending war in Iraq. For me, there was an overwhelming sense of floating between endings and beginnings. It's August now, and Mom calls to tell me that Ama fell down and fractured her hip. The doctor checked her bone density and found that she had the density of a 50-year-old. On October 2nd, the Taipei Artist Village formally invited me, starting in December for 6 weeks. My mother had translated the autobiography from Chinese to English for me, and I was ready to go, or so I thought. October 20th, Grandma has her third stroke. Her right side is paralyzed, and she cannot speak or swallow, but her left hand can move. Mom flies back to Taiwan immediately.
She tried to write something, then I give her the writing pad, and cannot see anything. But at least give her practice and encourage her to move around.
I dreamed that Ama was in the hospital and said that she was not ready to go, and she made it out okay, but I know I cried that night in my dream. October 26th, I attend the anti-war march in San Francisco with 100,000 other protesters. Dad said he didn't hear about it in Massachusetts.
She used Japanese to wrote your name. So I said, Anita is coming to see you. And she's happy. And then you have to answer 6 questions, then Anita can pay you money. Oh, her eye opened up wide. Oh, she likes, she likes American dollar.